We are going to dive right in to guiding lights, stories from New Mexico outdoor industry leaders who have joined us here today. I'm Maxie Navas, Director of the Outdoor Recreation Division, for those of you who are just tuning in, and I will be your host over the next 2 days. Now, this panel will be moderated by Lindsay Mapes, an outdoor rec business founder, economic development professional, and outdoor industry expert. With that, I turn it over to you, Lindsay. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Axie, and thanks for inviting me to be a moderator. This is exciting. And hi, everybody. So really quickly, my quick story is I became involved with outdoor recreation in New Mexico in Gallup, actually, around 2004, 2005. I got started by planning events, all sorts of events, trail races, community events, cycling races, all sorts of things. And I got involved also on the nonprofit scene using outdoor recreation as a form of economic development in Gallup to try and diversify the economy. When I was working on that and planning mostly races, I realized a couple of opportunities. One, that there were no chip timers to chip time races in New Mexico. So I started a race chip timing business, and I went all over the place every single weekend. It was miserable, timing races, basically. The most difficult job I think I've ever had. I also realized that as I was planning foot races and cycling races and triathlons and cross-country mountain bike races, that the most fun races to plan and the most lucrative were endurance mountain bike races. So I started a company called Zia Rides, and I did that for several years, and we ended up planning endurance races all over the state of New Mexico, and we started a series where you could accrue points, a statewide endurance mountain bike race series. We also hosted 2 national championship races, the 24-hour national championship races. About 5 or 6 years ago, I sold that company to Seth Bush, so Zia Rides is still around, and he's doing a fantastic job with the business. I then also, I moved to Taos, and I got involved with a tour company, which is what you'll see, I think somewhere on here, it says I'm the founder of Turquoise Tours, which basically we take baby boomers in a van and show them the sights around Taos. And as kind of a side gig and to keep my life going in the mountain bike world, we formalized and legitimized shuttles to the South Boundary Trail for mountain bikers. We have been COVIDed. I was fortunate enough to be able to sell the shuttle component. So mountain bike shuttles are still happening thanks to Taos, Shuttle Taos. I just moved to Los Alamos, trying to figure out what's next. I've got a couple of outdoor recreation ideas, but I think what's important about my story is that I am a total imposter. I'm not a mountain biker. I was really involved with fly fishing and hunting in Cuesta. I'm not a hunter. I'm not a fly fisher woman. I think my story is interesting because there are so many opportunities available in the outdoor recreation scene in New Mexico. You don't have to be immersed in it to make a go of it and be successful. So if you've got a little hustle in you, you can make anything happen, especially in New Mexico, and especially since the Division of Outdoor Recreation has started and there's so much emphasis on outdoor recreation. So we're going to hear about some stories from other businesses that have been successful in New Mexico in the outdoor recreation business. Let's start with Norman Moctezuma. He's the lead fly fishing guide for high desert anglers in Santa Fe. Norman is a member of the San Felipe Pueblo, Laguna Pueblo, and Hopi Pueblo, so he brings us the native perspective to outdoor recreation. He grew up fishing the rivers around central New Mexico, and he learned the art of fishing from his dad. So Norman, if you can take a few minutes and tell us a little bit more about yourself and your business, we'd love to hear from you.
Hello, everybody. Guatsi Hopa. So as Lindsay's mentioned, I am the senior guide at High Desert Angler. I've been with High Desert Angler for 22 years. Yeah, I've fell in love with the job basically out of college and never wanted to do anything else. I grew up in Pecos, New Mexico, and basically that's where I got my start in fly fishing at the age of 7. I moved there. My family moved there when I was 2. But as Lindsay mentioned, I am also from my heritage, my ancestry is from San Felipe Pueblo, Laguna Pueblo, and Hopi Pueblo. So got a long-standing evolutionary history to this area. Along with being a fly fishing guide, I was also a member of Fly Fishing Team USA, which is our national fly fishing team. And that all started in 1997 when I was on the World Youth Team for Team USA. And we went to Wales in 1998, where I won the individual World Fly Fishing Championship. And so that just started and got me on this career path as in the fly fishing industry. And then since then, in 2001, I was invited to be on the adult team and had been competing until 2018, where I won our national championship and decided to take a break. And as with most people that have experienced or have had some sort of alteration in their agenda for the year and goals, COVID hit, which was this year was my plan to kind of go back and see if I could remake the team and get back into the competitive aspects. So, but other than that, I'm also a fly designer for Umpqua Feather Merchants and have consulted with Echo Fly Fishing in rod designing. So yeah, spent a lot of time in this industry.
All right, thank you, Norman, and welcome to the panel. Our next panelist is Errol Beatty. He's the owner of Jack's Plastic Welding in Aztec. This company started 36 years ago in a chicken coop and has grown to include customers like NASA, projects like protecting our coral reefs, and products like the popular dry bag used by rafters and boaters. Errol, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your company?
As Lindsay said, we've been around for a while. We started in a chicken coop halfway between Aztec and Durango. Then we started with Jack. We are right now buying Jack out. He's retiring, working part-time, and we have a plan to make it, if we can, employee-owned. We're doing a little bit different, but we give shares every 10 years to our employees, and then hopefully they'll turn around and buy me out. So that's where we're starting there. I got into boating, actually not rafting, but boating a long time ago. My uncle was an avid canoeist up in northern Michigan. Went to visit him one summer and started open canoeing. That was back in the 60s. Then I went back, came out west, go to college, started open canoeing, whitewater there, then kayaking, and then Jack and I had become friends in college, and he asked me if I wanted to be a partner with him, and that's what I did. So I've been with the company since 85, 84, and growing all the time, so that's been nice. I think what's important for my takeaway is we're in a water industry on the rivers, and as you know, lately we've had a lot of droughts around here. So 2002, when we had that big drought, we started diversifying, and we went first and started building environmental things for the oil field. So we built containments, culvert plugs, pipe plugs, things like that. We started building up a prototype business, and that is what's kept us alive during this COVID. As you might expect, we do the manufacturing of bags, pads, and rafts. And so our stores, we had about, in March, when this first started, all of our preseason orders for March and April for our stores were pushed back and canceled, and so were our outfitter orders. The store orders slowly came back, but what saved us was our internet sales really climbed because everybody was going outside eventually. And then the prototype stuff, we had started doing another one too. We developed a prototype this year for working with the company out of Jackson Hole in St. George, Utah, building a kind of like hyperbaric chamber for COVID patients, so they could fly people in an airplane with the public and protect the public from the patients. And that came about from in the 80s when we were still in the chicken coop. We built the first hyperbaric chamber called the Gamma bag for climbers. We did the prototype work for a professor out of the University of Colorado. It's been an enjoyable ride. I think the main thing I would say as a manufacturer is diversify. Do what you can to get in different segments of the economy so that when you have a drought, like when you could walk across the river in 2002, and again this fall up here in Aztec. You have someplace else to go and develop. There's lots of avenues for you, whether it's in the outdoor industry or whatever. That's about it for us.
Thank you, Errol. Our next speaker is Dale Davis. He's the owner of 505 Cycles in Farmington. Dale rode his first mountain bike just 12 years ago, instantly falling in love with the sport. Since then, he's gotten into all sorts of riding and was infamously airlifted out of Angel Fire Bike Park 4 years ago after a gnarly crash. But this did not deter his affection for the sport. 2.5 years ago, he and his wife Rhonda purchased 505 Cycles. Nowadays, Dale doesn't get to ride as often as he used to since he runs the shop on nights and weekends while he still works his 9-to-5 job in the sales world. Dale is also one of the founders and the chairman of Endeavor, which is New Mexico's outdoor recreation business alliance, just launched about a month ago. So Dale, if you could tell us a little bit more about yourself, your bike shop, and Endeavor.
You bet. Thanks, Lindsay. You actually covered it pretty well there. So yeah, I'm a lifelong resident of Farmington. Have been in business here for a while, and we got the opportunity to purchase a bike shop, which is something I fell in love with later in life. I was about 40 when I bought my first bicycle. So yeah, we had the opportunity to purchase a bike shop. We now have 505 Cycles. We are a multi-branded bicycle shop. We have Kona, Specialized, Gorilla Gravity, along with a variety of other BMX bikes and e-bikes and all those things. You know, we delve into a few other things as well, but that's our main business. Yeah, in purchasing 505 Cycles, I shortly after became pretty heavily involved in the civic aspect of our outdoor recreation here in the city of Farmington, as well as the state of New Mexico. We have here in Farmington the Outdoor Recreation Industry Initiative, which came about because of the downturn in our economy. We were looking for other avenues to bring an economic platform to our community and diversify out. So we looked at that. So I became heavily involved in that. We started development of trying to bring in outdoor recreation businesses, bring in tourism, bring in everything that goes along with it. And really that's been the driver from what I've seen, the driver and the precursor to a lot of the development we've seen in the state, and it's brought a lot of attention to outdoor recreation. With that, became involved with Jim Glover, and Jim came to me, said, hey, I'd like to develop an outdoor recreation business alliance. He came to me about 2 years ago with that, and we've been doing that. We have kicked that off. It is Endeavor NM, and we are the state's first outdoor recreation business alliance. We're a 501c6, and our goal is to bring outdoor businesses, outdoor communities, cities, everyone who wants to get involved, and bring them into one voice. So currently we just kicked that off a little over 30 days ago. We've got 60 members, 60 plus members, and we are encouraging everyone that's on here today to go to endeavornm.org and become part of the organization in one form or another, because this really could be the driving force to bring the economic growth we need here in this state through outdoor recreation.
Great. Well, thank you, Dale. Our next panelist is Pablo Lopez. Pablo's been riding bikes for about a quarter of a century, and he's part owner and manager of Outdoor Adventures Bike Shop in Las Cruces, representing the southern part of the state there. As an avid road cyclist, Pablo's been very involved with supporting and organizing events around the Las Cruces area, but lately he's turned his attention to bike packing and has been recently working on legislation to enact a bike packing route through New Mexico. So Pablo, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, about your company, and about this legislation for the bike packing?
Sure. Can everybody hear me all right? Okay. First off, nice to meet everybody. I can't wait to hear more about what's going on in your neck of the woods. I'm a lifelong Las Cruces. Got into bikes kind of by accident, I guess you could say. I was literally hit by a car commuting to work one day. Was off the bike and doing anything for about 3 months, and all I really thought about while I was healing was getting back on a bike, and I did, and I never got off and decided to make it my livelihood. With a little bit of luck, winding up in a great shop like Outdoor Adventures down here in Las Cruces. Then somehow getting involved with some people at the level of organizing and seeing the future, getting into bike packing, working on things called the Monumental Loop, which is a bike packing route that connects the Organ Mountain Desert Peaks National Monument here. And so it's not only connecting all 4 parts of it because it's kind of scattered, but it's also connecting parts of the community to that the national monument. Also, mentioned the Memorial 10 bill last year, which they recognized the New Mexico Bikepacking Network. It's basically a series of bikepacking routes that already exist, but they actually do connect already from north to south and even into Texas. And I think that's exciting because it touches a lot of different communities. If you look at these routes on bikepacking.com, maybe there's some opportunities there for some communities to see some of the gear that people are coming through their towns, and maybe even manufacture some of that gear with our own local flair, which I think would just be amazing. I think we could do way cooler jobs in any other state. We just are so diverse as a people, and it could reflect in our products. Anyway, my story basically is still being written, I feel, and being part of this panel and getting to meet new people, I feel better connected to this state already, and I'm really excited to keep moving forward in the outdoor rec business.
All right, thank you, Pablo. And last but not least are Lance and Jasmine Rowe. They are based in Ruidoso. Their company is called Backcountry Attitudes. Unfortunately, I don't have a snappy intro for you guys, so you're gonna have to help me out here. If you could tell us a little bit about yourselves and a little bit about your business, we'd love to learn more about you.
Guys, thanks for having us. Pleasure to meet all of y'all. Of course, I am Lance. That's Jasmine. We are both hometown here, Ruidoso, New Mexico. Pretty much lifelongers here. We created a little business that we're running as a mom and pop shop. I guess this will be our finishing up our 3rd summer. What we do up here is we have an OHV touring business. So we basically take people on outdoor adventure tours back in the backcountry on our OHVs. They're side-by-side 4-seaters. Other than that, we have a bike shop here in our store as well, Pinnacle Bike Systems. This is sublease, it's an umbrella over us. Wallace Downs is our bike guy here. We also do an outdoor frisbee disc golf, as well as archery and hunting supplies. So that's kind of the realm about our store here. You got anything to add to that?
The reason why we started this business was to get people more into the outdoors. We have a lot of city people that come from large cities. They're business people. They work indoors most of the time. So when they come out into Ruidoso, they want to see the wilderness with a little bit fear in mind of where to go and how to get there safely. So with the guided tours that we offer, it just seems pretty cool for families to be able to come with. We've had all age groups from 80 all the way down to 4-year-olds. Get them on the trail, get them out. A lot of times we see wildlife, different stuff in the wilderness. So it's really neat. families can do that. Where we go most of the time too doesn't have cell phone service on the whole trail. So we try to get those teenagers to put their cell phones in the glove boxes, and that's pretty neat too. Just outdoor stuff, lots of outdoor stuff. So it's been a journey for sure, especially with the last year, but we're all moving forward and seems to be working pretty well.
Great. Well, thanks for being here. So we're going to jump into some questions. We'll start off with the questions that you all have read about. So I'm going to just open this up. Whoever feels like they have a good answer, jump in and we can go from there. So the first question is, can you describe the last few months, what they've looked like for your business? Are there any particularly salient memories that you can share with us?
I'll jump into that one. The last few months, I hate to say this, but COVID has been for our bike shop, and I think for bike shops across the country, has been a kind of a boom in business. We've been pretty blessed in that aspect of it. The supply chain part of it's been tough. Getting things to sell has been hard. I think one of the things that I have noticed is I really thought when I saw the huge uptick in sales, saw people coming in, buying bikes for themselves, buying bikes for their families, bringing in bikes they hadn't taken out of the garage in 10 years and having us fix them up so they can get out and ride. I was truly concerned that for most of these people, it was going to be a New Year's resolution type of thing. They'd be with it for 30, maybe 90 days, and then it would just fall to the wayside. But that has not been it. I am seeing more people out on the trail, out on the roads than I've ever seen in my life, and it's been pretty neat to see. I've got people coming in the shop who came in March or April and bought bikes, and they're still coming in the back in the shop, and they're telling me, hey, I've lost 30 pounds, I've lost 50 pounds. So the changes I'm seeing in people and the changes I'm seeing in people's lifestyles has been amazing.
I think for me, for us anyway, as Jack's Plastic Welding, the biggest thing we've seen is a big sale on our pads and things like that, and people just going out camping. And it's been, as a lot of you probably already know, the campgrounds are totally closed. Like, it's hard to get a camping site. People are going up there all the time. So we were just starting to get into the overland market with our dry bags and our pads. And what we've seen during this time is our pad sales have gone out the roof. We make a self-inflating sleeping pad called the Paco pad. We're pretty well known in the river industry. We sell our pads and bags. We have most of the outfitter business for rivers all the way from down to Mexico all the way to Alaska. However, during this COVID, all the outfitters have closed down. So we're seeing those sales transfer to retail crowds. And then once the stores were able to open again partially, they started ordering stuff. And the pads and the bags and just camping equipment in itself, when I talk to people across the nation that sell our products, it's that way all over. Everybody's going out camping, doing that stuff outdoors. And like Dale said, I don't think it's going to end. We've been seeing an increase in our business on the whitewater side and the rafting side over the last 15 years. It has increased all the time. And one thing about we've noticed, for us anyway, in the outdoor industry is during a recession, we do well, because during a recession, people are still going out and recreating outdoors. So that's been always a good, we start to see a downswing when the economy is super good a little bit compared to when there's a recession, because their people are going outside instead of going to Europe or doing whatever like that. So I think that's been the big thing with us. We lost our stores, but our retail sales kept us up there, where we might have sold a little bit less product, but it was also at a higher margin. So we are actually doing good after getting through March and April. We are catching up. We started out at 30% below what we were last year at the end of April. And now we're back to within about 10% of where we were last year, which to me is good.
Pablo, did you want to speak on this?
As Dale was saying, and I'm sure Lance and Jasmine are seeing, it is harder to get product. There's some products that they're saying may not even be available till August next year. So you're on a waiting list for a year to get some product. So there's some worrying times ahead. We do have to think about different ways to reach different audiences. Our store, we've started doing things that we haven't done traditionally before, trying to get more camping gear and stuff in. So I'm very interested in Aral products. I think they sound right up our alley. And they're New Mexico made. I'm pumped about that. But also I guess what's the best way to say it? It's nerve-wracking. It's basically turning into a competition to try to order goods first. Some of the industry I don't think is doing the job they need to do by limiting maybe some supplies. If you can float the whole industry, by floating these little shops rather than just letting big shops buy everything up, I think it would be better for the entire industry. But I'm just curious, like Norman, what kind of struggles are you having with, or any in your business?
Can you all hear me? Yeah, it's been interesting the last few months, especially dealing with COVID, with restrictions. I have, with High Desert Angler, we have split entities. Basically, we have the fly shop side as well, the retail, as well as the guiding aspect. So the retail did take a hit, obviously, with closure of non-essential businesses. And, we were just kind of looking for those parameters that we could do curbside service, that sort of thing. But still, I mean, business was, I'd say, less than 10% in that regard. And the same with the guide service. However, when restrictions were lifted a little bit more, then the guide service was able to kick in. And then we got hit again. So, Aral deals a little bit with the rafting community. But as far as the fly fishing community, the fishing community, we've been hit with a significant drought, heat wave, prolonged heat, didn't get our monsoon, so we got hit on the backside of that. However, that being said, there was this drive for people to get out and experience activities that also incorporated the social distancing aspect. So our guiding, actually, we maintained and stayed very busy. However, we had to look at those practices and stewardship and just making sure that we're not overwhelming the fisheries by limiting our guide service to half days in the morning, taking advantage of the cooler days or cooler temperatures of the day. And so, our overall business was reduced, or income was reduced, just because we had to fall back into the half-day rates and not take advantage of the full-day rates. However, that being said, as well, COVID forced us to really take a look at our protocols and how we actually conduct our guide trips. We had to basically reinstill some protocols. So, I mean, on these guide trips, we normally would take care of transportation. On a full day, we'd normally take care of lunch. We eliminated that. So we don't do transportation. We meet clients out at a meeting place close to the fishery where we're going, and then they follow us out there. And as well, they take care of their own lunch for the day. We do still have like reserve backups of water and drinks. You know, that's always a necessity, especially if you're outside. You got to make sure people are hydrated. So it was interesting. We had this downturn, significant downturn, and then, you know, like the retail aspects, getting inventory into the store was difficult. However, what we did notice and did see was when people were able to come back into the store, like the bike industry, they were making those investments, buying fly rods. So the sales declined, number of sales declined, however, the quality of sales increased. And so that was actually very comforting, I guess. It was no way back to the numbers that we would normally see, especially in the months of June, July, and August. So, you know, it kept us alive and kept us floating, and definitely the owner of High Desert Angler took advantage of the funds that were available to small businesses. And, you know, I think that allowed a lot of people local people more than anything, to come out and support their local businesses like High Desert Angler. And a lot of the local people actually ended up supporting, you know, myself and our guides that are on full time to stay out and stay busy. So it's very interesting. We got hit with two things, or multiple things: COVID, drought, heat, and even at the same time, you're dealing with limited access, state parks, that sort of thing, that were closed. However, I will say that, you know, we have worked with local members, ranch owners, to get access, which also actually gave us that opportunity to practice that social distancing without having any, you know, numbers of people around us. We were able to keep that going. So, you know, very interesting year, obviously, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Lance and Jasmine fared with this too.
We're live. Got us? Yeah. You know, this first couple of months we took a pretty hard hit. We have a retail store as well, and of course retail went totally down. But you know, the more they unleashed and let people get out on their own and come in, we have a lot of folks coming from West Texas. Of course, we're a little bit more lenient than what we are over here. And our buggy sales went wild, it went crazy, but we had a pretty kind of like the fly fishing, Norman, we had a pretty hard restriction on how we could run our units. We'd get everybody to band up outside. That's where we'd perform our helmets, testing, and all of that stuff. And then let the drivers only come in on a separate little space so we could educate them on how the ride's going to go. And, you know, things to expect on the trail systems. But, you know, over time, I'm kind of like you. I feel like people were tired of being bound up inside, tired of being, you know, just can't get outside at all. And it really gave our business a pretty good boom. And, you know, same for Wallace. He's the one that sells our bikes. He's had a terrific year, you know, pushing bikes out of the shop. People are super happy. A lot of those old school bikes that are coming out of the garage, like Dale was saying, now he's got this repetitive customer base that's really moving and bringing a lot of other people into the shop. So, you know, it had some crazy times, definitely a downward fall. We had to, you know, put some of our guides off and kind of send them back for a little while, but we've all brought them back on, so we're running full force as far as our tours. On an AM tour situation, we used to run it on a double tour, once the afternoon, once the day, and still not quite allowed to do that just because we had to clean our rigs, clean the helmets, let them set for 24 hours. But I see it making a pretty positive step, you know, comeback. I mean, people really are seeming to love the outdoors, and I think this really brought a lot of people to adventure out a little bit more. And I'm excited about the new year coming.
It's up to each of us to play it safe and slow the spread, so we can still
safely reconnect with friends, get our breakfast burrito fix,
indulge in a little retail therapy,
or just unwind at the end of the day.
Help keep each other safe.
And our favorite local businesses open.
Make the promise at nmsafepromise.org.
Growing here isn't easy, but
people have beat the odds for centuries, bringing acequias to dry land, ranging cattle in the high desert, and crafting entire histories by hand. What comes from New Mexico is durable, resilient, tested by the elements, and better for it. Support your neighbors. Buy local. New Mexico True certified.
I am a New Mexican.
These are my rivers, my mesas, my trails.
I want to take care of this place I call home, so there are always fish in the streams
and animals in the forest.
Clean streets and lush parks.
This land is a gift from our ancestors.
And it's up to us to protect it.
Do your part to take care of our home and keep New Mexico true.
That's a perfect segue. So it sounds like generally and nationally, the trends have shown us that COVID has given a boost to outdoor recreation and those businesses associated with outdoor recreation. So if there's anyone in the audience that's thinking about getting into outdoor recreation, this might be the perfect time. So looking to the future, if you had a crystal ball, what do you think the outdoor economy in New Mexico is going to look like in a year or even in 5 years, based on what you know now and based on the amount of time of business that you've been in thus far?
Well, if you know, I wished I had a crystal ball. If I had a crystal ball, I'd probably have a lot more money than what I have. But you know, I think there's so many unknowns. I think we're so heavily right now dependent upon what is going to happen with our state. Is the state going to open back up? When is it going to open back up? How is that going to look? So I think we have there's so many things that in a lot of ways as a business person, those things are out of our control. So that one's really tough. As I was saying, I think this has been a shift in people. I think this has been a shift in lifestyle, not just here in New Mexico, but nationwide. So if we open back, or when we open back up, I should say, and if that is sooner than later, I think there's opportunities. There's opportunities for growth. I think there's opportunities for new business. I think there's opportunities for manufacturing. I don't see a decline in outdoor recreation over the next 5 years. I think we see continued growth. I don't think we'll see the growth that we saw in some aspects of it. But I think if the state opens back up, if we can get it open back up, if we can get that tourism back in here, if we can get all those things done, I kind of think the sky's the limit for our state right
now. I would like to see over the next year, again, I think it's going to be a very unpredictable year for all the reasons that Dale said, and probably even a bunch more we can't even think of. But I think I'd like to see advocacy groups and stuff really take over and try to shape our next 5 years, which is part of that question. I think it'd be a great opportunity. I'm seeing, yes, a lot of people outside, but not necessarily great stewardship by the growth. There's a lot more trash out in the desert nowadays. People just going off trail, doing weird things. It might be a good time for this next year to really push getting stewardship into schools that would protect outdoor recreation in the future, as far as being a viable means for economic growth. Also, I think it would be nice to see infrastructure spending to get people into the outdoors. Again, it's hard for some communities to even get people to their outdoors. Because maybe they don't have a vehicle, they can't afford gas. There should be other avenues opened up to get people out to some of these areas that aren't necessarily dependent on like fossil fuels or something. I think that would also help secure outdoor economic growth. I think the time is right to really consider how we want outdoor economic future to look for New Mexico. Of course, we would love to see more manufactured goods and everything like that, but I think changing the attitude creating better users of the outdoors would make it longer outdoors for us to have to use for all of us in all of our businesses. So I'd really like to see some of those things get pushed to the forefront.
Pablo, all the things you just brought up are really the things that we're focusing on with Endeavor. So that's, I'm really pushing people become part of Endeavor, because all the things that Pablo is talking about is what we are focusing on. So if we can get that one voice going, I think it does us all a lot of good. I think there's opportunities that aren't being taken advantage of. Our bike shop is New Mexico True Certified. We're the only bike shop in New Mexico that's New Mexico True Certified. So there's opportunities for things that can bring focus to your business that I think a lot of organizations aren't taking advantage of.
Dale, can you give us the website address for Endeavor again?
Yes, it's endeavornm.org. So the NM's for New Mexico. So endeavornm.org.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to comment on this question?
As far as New Mexico and it's, what I see in 1 to 5 years, the nice thing about New Mexico is it does have that legacy of outdoor recreation, outdoor use. Growing up Native American and Pueblo descent, as well as in a small Hispanic community in Pecos, we grew up living the outdoors. It may not be so much now, but even still, I see a lot of the youth and the younger community, either if they're out away when they come back home and visit or whatnot, the outdoors is definitely instilled in them as something to live by or to go out and recreate in as well. So you have hunting, fishing, camping, hiking, and one thing that we had mentioned before, as far as our sales too, people are making those investments, and like Dale was saying, it's not the New Year's resolution scenario. It's people that are investing in their future more than anything. So, I definitely see the outdoor economy not just growing, but also stabilizing, and then people really making that effort to maintain those lifestyles. So it's not necessarily a recreation aspect anymore, it's a lifestyle change and shift. So I think within 5 years, the outdoor economy is just going to be something that, like you mentioned, Lindsay, if you want to get in it, now's the time to get in it in a sense and take opportunity there. But even at the same time, you do have access to, again, in the what's her name, Amy's presentation, there was a question about from a social media influencer. You have those accesses as well, people promoting and just highlighting what is available that we have here in New Mexico. And so people are seeing that and taking advantage of it. They want to have those opportunities to explore what's out there. So, that access isn't only physically, but you're seeing it through social media as well as through technology. So, and Pablo's concerned about getting that access out there. I think a lot of that, that is an issue financially and socioeconomically, but even at the same time, you see that trend growing and getting more minority people involved. And I think I'm going to say what I'm going to say for the last question, but there's a lot of that investment going into the younger people as well, and especially the minority people. So me as a Native American, I'm making there's a lot of that indigenous sovereignty, food sovereignty, traditional knowledge, that's all coming back into play too. So it's not just bikes, fishing, there's a whole nother spectrum of using those public spaces that we're seeing really take root. And again, it's back to our traditional base, our cultural base, our legacy base. So, you know, I that's what I see as far as, I mean, even further past 5 years, you know, so.
Anyone else have anything? Go for it, Carol.
Sorry about that. I agree with all of them. There's one other aspect I think sometimes we forget about too, is when we have, with our climate that we have in New Mexico, we have a great advantage in a couple areas as far as shoulder seasons. Up in our area in Farmington and Aztec, where Dale is also, and I think Dale would agree, when you start getting the fall and then the spring and even in the winter, you'll see the Durangoans coming down or the Coloradoans coming down to do their mountain biking, to go hiking, to go get on their four-wheelers, all of that kind of stuff. And in those southern climates, we can take advantage of the BLM lands on the desert and stuff like that. I mean, lately we've been going out, just following the oil and gas roads and going out in the middle of nowhere and camping because you can't get into a campground. So, which brings up another aspect. I think the growth is unlimited for the next year and for the next 5 years. But to do it at a state level, I think we need to change some mindsets also. It's not, a couple of years ago, we won an award, and I was talking to one of our local representatives at the state level. And I brought up some of the outdoors program when we were looking for paddle sports trail, and I was talking about ORI and stuff, and this representative thought I was against oil and gas. And he called me an environmentalist, and that's not going to happen, and so on and so forth. Well, what I started asking was, so what do all your employees do? They're oil and gas. Where do they go? They go outdoors all the time. If we can work together and see the benefits of working together, both include oil and gas, ranchers, outdoor people, recreation on our federal lands, I think we can get together a lot better, and we'll get a lot more done at the state level instead of bickering. Let's show the federal government how to work it and get along with everybody. And I think you'll see a tremendous growth. I'm off my soapbox now.
I appreciate your candidness about the federal political climate. I'm going to move on to the next question because we have a lot of questions coming in from the general public. So I don't know, Jasmine, it looks like Lance left you. So Jasmine, I don't know if you feel like answering this one, not to put you on the spot. What trends are you seeing in the outdoor industry as a whole? And how can New Mexico capitalize on them? And anyone can answer this, but Lance and Jasmine didn't get to comment on the last one, so I'm calling you out first.
That's okay, I don't mind at all. I totally lost what you said. You're clicking in and out.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me right now?
Yes, right now I can.
Okay. What trends are you seeing in the outdoor industry in New Mexico? And how do you think that our audience, if people are currently in business or thinking about getting into business, what are those trends that they could capitalize on? Or how could they capitalize on them?
So I feel that pretty much anywhere in the outdoors right now is definitely a market to get in. We have that side of more athletic people who want to be on bikes, who want to be hiking, who like that type of outdoor lifestyle. Lots of people who tent, backpack tents, or take their campers. So there's that genre also. But I also feel like a lot of the things with the OHVs are a lot of people who, if they even down to a disability or can't handle a full hike, or it's still giving them that chance to get in a vehicle with their friends or their family or their elderly or whatever that is in their group, and getting out on those trails and seeing the beauty that we get to see if we're able to go ride a bike or hike or any of those things that other people are capable of doing. But I really agree with Pablo too, that and everybody else, but that I really feel like it starts from the younger generation up right now, you know, packing it in and packing it out, and that all of us continue to teach not only our age group or above or below, but really that younger group of how to keep those trails using for us and become stewards to help take care of the wilderness. We, a lot of times on our trail systems, if we see trash along the way, we stop the whole tour, we pull over and grab trash. It's just the way it should be. So, but I really feel like anywhere in the outdoors right now is an awesome experience. And the next 5 years, I feel like it's just going to grow crazy. I just don't see it going anywhere but up.
Anyone else have a comment on the trends?
I can add to that. You know, one thing that I've seen too, and again, just reincorporating social media or, you know, internet access and that sort of thing. You know, you see a big movement in, you know, groups promoting, really promoting each other to get outdoors, and even more so, you see people of color really taking on and encouraging each other to get out and explore the outdoor recreation community. You know, and it's very intimidating for a lot of people of color when, you know, the outdoor industry, fly fishing in particular, you know, is such a white person sport, for lack of a better term, you know. And again, a lot of these are affiliated with kind of a wealth or a class status, if you will. You know, you have to have money. I get it all the time when people come into the fly shop, not necessarily minorities or brown folks, but everybody. It's like, oh man, you gotta be rich in order to do this sport. Yes and no. There's definitely opportunities to get out there. There are definitely opportunities that you know, you can purchase equipment that's not that expensive, consignment items, that sort of thing. But I see that trend happening much more. You have natives outdoors, you have brown folks life or brown folks fishing. You know, even like I will be working with NACA. Well, hopefully they're still trying to get grant money together, and their whole push is what is it? They're calling them wisdom keepers, and so these are individuals. Me would be included in that have that shared knowledge of traditional outdoor use or recreation, and then incorporating that into you know, a classroom setting. I have a background in environmental studies biology, so you know, when I'm out, I'm also just, you know, teaching my clients, teaching anybody. When I do work with nonprofit organizations or even classes, classrooms, kids, really reinforcing, you know, that science aspect, you know, how everything, the ecosystems all basically tied to each other. So you see that happening again with social media, with classes, classrooms. That access is all there. It's at your fingertips. So that trend of people just getting involved, maybe from the outside, but they get to see what's there. Again, you know, pictures, what you're posting on the feed right now, you know, just gets people interested in generating that curiosity. Like, wow, that's such a beautiful place to go and visit. There's people like me that are out there, you know, it just gets people drawn in. So that trend, and learning how to utilize it in order to build your network base, basically, you know, is very key in building your business as well. I mean, I have a YouTube channel, I have a Patreon page, my Facebook, my Instagram, as well as being affiliated with a fly shop, fly rod company, fly tying designers. You know, that whole aspect. I can use that to back me and to really branch out and push people who normally wouldn't have that opportunity to get out there, you know, just to see somebody that is able to do it that looks like them. You know, and that being said too, one trend is you're starting to see that happen within the local indigenous communities. I've been working with some folks actually out in Wind River Reservation, and you know, they have programs, and I would like to see that happen over here too. So I've been talking with a lot of people as far as, you know, where we could go with that, to push guide services, or again, like Chairman Nez or President Nez of Navajo Nation was incorporating that loop system for people to travel and really share their beautiful landscape that is their homeland. You know, could be a little bit different with Pueblos as far as our tradition and culture. You know, there's a little bit more restrictive parameters that go along with that, but you know, all that is there as well. So not just for the wealthy community, but also for folks that are limited in that regard, you know, knowing how to reach out to those people and give them that opportunity, I think is just going to start boosting, because then, you know, they want to invest in that lifestyle. Again, going back to what our growth prospect or outlook would be, you know. So yeah, that's just kind of what I'm seeing as far as trends and what's happening in the outdoor recreation world.
Okay, we just have a few more minutes left, and so I'm going to cut off our questions here and turn over to the audience questions. So we have several questions. If you all can try to answer these in 30 seconds or less, so we can get through as many questions as possible. So here is probably one for Dale and Pablo. Bike sales have gone through the roof. What are the supply chain issues that you're experiencing, if any?
Well, I'll jump in there. So you had a two-tier thing happen. First, the virus shut down all the factories. Then the demand went completely through the roof for everything bicycle related. So it completely wiped out the supply chain. So not only is there not bicycles really available, but also all the componentry that people need to fix their bikes. All that componentry is going to factories to try to catch up with bicycle production. So across the board, it is really, it's been a tough one.
I'd say probably the hardest hit people were honestly that we saw people that rely on their bikes for transportation. They're not using the higher end components that Dale was just referring to. They're using very lower end stuff, and that stuff just got decimated, and it's left a lot of people no longer with their main means of transportation. That's probably the most concerning part of the supply chain for me, because man, it's not cool when that's all they got and they don't got it anymore, and there's nothing we can do about it. We're trying to send people to secondhand kind of stores, maybe encourage them to buy some used bikes so we can use parts off of that kind of thing. There's a local community bike shop here that does that kind of work too, so hopefully we can get through it.
Okay, thank you. This is another interesting one, and again, this would require many more minutes of response, but if someone can succinctly answer this, how do you all think we should work together to keep people outdoors while still educating them to treat our public spaces responsibly? Can anyone respond
I think
to
that would, yeah, I could. I think that would really start with outreach programs, or working again, like Lance and Jasmine had mentioned about the youth and the younger generation, just instilling that ideal of stewardship, responsibility, taking care of what is here, because you are going to have that influx of more people. I mean, we already seen it as like out on the Pecos. I mean, just annihilated. And honestly, that's kind of the fault of the parents. True, the infrastructure might not have been there for them to discard their trash and refuse properly, but at the same time, pack it in, pack it out. Very easy to understand, but you know, I think that's where it's going to start, is again for us in the industry to go out and to you know, share our knowledge and information with the younger generation.
I think the Outdoor Equity Fund is an amazing start for some programs like what we're all talking about for stewardship and whatnot. And as far as trends, Guess what? That was a New Mexico-born idea, and it's trending around the nation, where other states are trying to start outdoor equity funds as well for getting the right people that never had a chance to get outdoors. That's all.
And one more question, we're going to wrap up. Should be a quick yes or no for each of you. With at least 7 months of COVID issues now, do any of you feel that you will actually increase your number of employees because of required changes that you expect in the future with COVID? Do you expect that you'll be increasing your employees due to COVID? So if we can just do a quick yes or no, we'll start with Pablo.
I'm probably going to say no.
Okay, Errol?
Yes, right now. I'm in the process of hiring 2 more people right now.
Great. Dale, what about you?
No, I don't see it.
Okay, Norman?
No, and it wouldn't be from COVID or anything like that. It's just, responsible usage, and we just got to limit our employee base.
And last but not least, Lance and Jasmine.
That's exactly us too, not because of COVID, just restructuring and utilizing what we have. So probably no.
Okay. So that was our last question. Do you all have any other last thoughts before we wrap things up? Real quick last thoughts.
I'd just like to say there was mentioned earlier, New Mexico True. It is a good thing to get with. I was at a show back in New Orleans a few years back, of all places, and right on the screen in the airport as I was flying home was an advertisement for a bunch of outdoor businesses, ski resorts and fishing for New Mexico on New Mexico True. And then the endeavor that Dale's involved with, I think, is an awesome thing to get involved with also.
All right. Well, I want to thank all of you for your time and your expertise. We did not make it through all the questions, so those in the audience that have questions that they have that they want to ask of you, I think they can all find you online. I've looked up all of your websites. Otherwise, Axie, I think that the contact information for all the panelists will be made available.
Yes, definitely. And we're going to be posting this online. It was such a great session with really thoughtful, pretty deep conversation about supply chain issues and what we're seeing in the outdoor recreation industry in New Mexico. So thank you all so much for engaging with us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. So these are the business leaders who make up the backbone of the New Mexican outdoor economy. They are resilient, as you have seen. They are creative, and we need them. So thank you so much for joining us on this kickoff day 1 of the Outdoor Economics Fall Forum. We've had 200 people at least throughout this whole session, which I think is pretty good for approaching 440 on a Thursday. We will be back on this same link tomorrow at 9 sharp. And at that point, we're going to meet some young recipients of the Outdoor Equity Fund, which you've heard a little bit about today. You're also going to hear from the team behind the vision for that grant, Councilor Gabe Vasquez and State Representative Angelica Rubio. So that's a really great session that I would encourage everyone to come to if you can. 9 o'clock tomorrow, this link. So after that, 9:30, we'll learn about techniques on how to market an outdoor community safely in the time of COVID, including hearing from some folks who have been involved directly with that NM True campaign that Errol was just talking about. Next up, tomorrow, 10:30, Senator Steinborn will lead our panel, Exploring the Outdoors as a Public Health Necessity. That's going to feature New Mexico's own Dr. Strace, Dr. Kozel of Cuba, and chef and founder of Shed Project, Johnny Ortiz. So finally, tomorrow after quick intermission, we're going to close with a panel dedicated to defining and clarifying the types of funding out there to invest in outdoor recreation access in your community, something Pablo brought up not too long ago. So teaser, spoiler alert there, there's money out there to grow sustainable outdoor recreation, both for visitors and residents. So tune back in tomorrow at 9 using the same registration link for a second day packed with information about the power and potential of the New Mexican outdoor economy. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We'll see you tomorrow.